it's Captain Invisible here, and welcome to another Pike showcase video for Medieval 2 Total War. And a Pike showcase video would not be complete without the master himself, Mr. Paladinbob, who quite kindly sent in this replay of his sort of Pike Volger tactics. We've had discussions about the whole Pike formation and tactics over the past few sort of months, and he's got this idea about the Volger and Pike combination with these formidable Swiss pikemen, and Volger making up the armor piercing point of the Pike, if that's a thing. And he's in this 2 versus 2 with Pike and Shot over here with his own Portuguese Pike formation with some conquistadors and the Aventure Pikes. They're quite fancy. And he's up against the Byzantines, commanded by Gusten X and War King in command of Milan. Now we're not going to discuss why these two are so far apart. That's a different kind of tactic for a different kind of video. But Paladinbob has brought a Pike rush army, and he's gonna do exactly what it says on the tin, which is rush the Pikes into the enemy. It's not something I would ever advise using Pikes for, or ever use Pikes for myself, but Paladinbob's apparently doing it, and yeah, he is the master of Pikes, so yeah, he's very well equipped with the knowledge to do this, to pull this off. He's got these 3 spear militia just soaking up the enemy fire, and then he's got his Pikes rushing up in this sort of triple line formation. And the max cav I think was 5. I think a lot of people brought 5 cav. Except for Paladinbob, who's brought 4 cav, and they are the mounted French archers. Just pause it here because it's about to get underway. With regards to the French mounted archers, I've seen a lot of Paladinbob's videos with this Pike formation and these mounted archers, and I believe it gives him the ability to sort of reach out towards the enemy without being drawn in if he would have with melee cav. So it allows him to pluck away at some of these units and really harass the enemy, and it gives him some skirmish contingent as well, because this is he has no archers in this French army. It's just a Pike spam basically. It's basically a combination of the 2 of these standard pikemen, 4 of the Swiss pikemen, 4 Volger, which I highly recommend you do not bring, but Paladinbob brings them regardless, and then some Flemish pikemen. I really like the Flemish pikemen. Their armour is pretty high for a Pike unit, and they do have pretty decent morale as well. The only problem is they are mercenary units, and I think, in fact, no, you can get them in high period and all period, so they are quite accessible as well to the various periods. These Swiss pikemen, though, where it's at, they trade off the armor defense, as you'll see shortly, for the utterly brutal attack of 15, I think, and 15 for any unit is ridiculous, but for a Pike unit, if you can get those Pikes down and get those Pikes going, they will cause mayhem. So we'll just speed it back up again, and as you can see, the Byzantines' ability to reach out towards these Pikes is going to hurt these Swiss pikemen. Swiss pikemen do not do well against missiles, and you can see by the bodies that these Swiss pikemen are no exception to that. If you can focus on pikemen with archers, you will destroy them, and that's the one weakness, or probably one of the many weaknesses of pikemen, to be honest. but it's one of the main flaws that I always see in pikemen, that if you don't have archers yourself, you're gonna take a lot of archer fire, and all the bodies here are all Swiss pikemen. So Bob's managed to close the distance with these pikes, and he's going to start a cavalry fight. Unfortunately, I think his men are on skirmish mode, and skirmish mode isn't very good for getting away from things. He's cavalry going to charge in and sort of get caught up. And against Latin Con, they're not going to be that good in that sort of fight. So the pike rush has started. The spearmen are going to be what holds off the pike wall, and even then, they're not going to do a very good job of it. These pikemen here have got a bit messed up. This is the problem with pikemen as well. You never can trust their formation, and sometimes they'll get a bit messed up. But these ones at the front, these Swiss pikemen, and all the way over here, this is what you want to see. Double layers of pikemen just grinding through units, and they absolutely just push aside these spearmen as if they are nothing. This side seems to be the most effective pike side. The pikemen are in a nice big block, which is what you want them in, and you want them to avoid them sort of marching into the enemy like this. You want them more to be sort of stationary like these guys. Stationary and just with this nice little gap between them and the other enemy infantry, gives them the space they need to put the pikes down. And as soon as they can do that, they'll start prodding and poking away at the enemy formation. And then yeah, some nice use of Volger just to fill in the gap. Although they're not the best unit to use to support pikemen. I prefer using chivalric knights just to give myself that extra power as well from the chivalric knight infantry. But as you can see, the pikemen just poke a gigantic hole through the enemy line. And this is what pikemen can do really well, especially these Swiss pikemen, because as I say, with 15 attack, they can kill most enemy infantry in 1 or 2 hits. There's not a lot of enemy infantry that can really stand toe to toe with the Swiss pikemen. The only problem with Swiss pikemen is the problem all pikemen have, that if they put their pikes down, they bring out those swords, and they're just not very effective at all. But as you can see, these Swiss pikemen are just grinding through these Latin Con, and the Latin Con have not even touched the Swiss pikemen at this front line. So this is what you want to see from the pikemen, just a steady grind straight through the enemy. And as you can see, another unit breaks, and now we've got this big hole, which you could then spill, as I say, chivalric knights or other units through. So pikemen are good at really clearing holes in the enemy formation, something that other infantry might not be capable of doing. Most infantry fights become more of a grind out, but pikemen seem to just be able to push straight through and create these nice gaps. So the cavalry fight is currently being cleaned up by Pike and Shot with his Genites. So we've got some mounted French archers free to clean up these Byzantine archers, and I think we can put it on full speed now because the enemy seems to be breaking. So yeah, these mounted French archers, they're really good missile cav, but they are also exceptional in melee, and you can really sort of clean up these archer forces with them.
The enemy is badly blooded. They have lost half their men.
So again, double line pikemen. Get one just to move up in an attacking formation, and the other one hangs back in defense, and you can just push aside these infantry formations like they are nothing. So well cleaned up there by Paladinbob. We shall jump over to this fight here just to showcase some more pike action with Pike and shot himself. So we've got a nice little missile duel here, and the other use of pikemen is to have them behind your missiles to stop enemy cav from coming in. I think these Knights Hospitaller will want to keep their distance from these crossbow men. The problem is with this that any crossbow bolts missing the Paddy's crossbow men are going to hit the pikemen. And as you can see, there's already a nice row of dead pikemen. So you have to be careful not to have your pikes too close to your missiles, but obviously give them enough space to rush forward if they need to. So it looks like we're going to see a mix of Pike and Conquistadors rushing forward against Milan, whilst Paladinbob reforms his own formation. And this will allow me to showcase another combination of pikemen and infantry, which is the sword infantry in the front with the pike infantry behind, and just using the sword infantry to create that gap between the pikemen and the other infantry, and then using the pikemen in a defensive formation behind just to prod and poke through the enemy formation. So unfortunately the pikemen have sort of rushed in a bit too far into the enemy, but as you can see, the pikes do kind of poke through the sword line. There's a couple here that will hold off these feudal knights. Yeah, these conquistadors are sort of just in front of the pike formation, and are kind of acting as a buffer between the pikes and the enemy infantry, allowing the length of the pike through their formation to poke in and kill some of these feudal knights. I think it's best. Yeah, I think he is the best place for it. These conquistadors are holding off this front row, and then these pikemen come in and just push right into this feudal knight formation, and these feudal knights just drop to these pikemen. Unfortunately, the problem with pikemen is if you are going to use them in aggressive formation like this, they do tend to push way too far into the enemy and get the flanks exposed. And as soon as these feudal knights get into the formation of pikemen, they're going to break up the formation and really cut them down.
Our men are winning. The enemy is badly blotted. They have lost half their men.
Still, I think there's still some spaces where the pikemen are still free. No, I think they're all broken up now. But as I say, it happens. It happens a lot actually. You really have to babysit pikemen. But just a little showcase there about the use of the pike and sword, where the sword becomes more of a shield, and then the pike becomes a sword arm of the whole formation.
Très bien. The enemy general lies dead. We have sent the cur to hell.
So it's some nice flanking action from Paladinbob. The entire Milanese army breaks, and it's just a case of cleaning up these Milanese forces now. So yeah, a couple of decent tactics there. I was certainly surprised when Paladinbob sent me this video with the pike rush formation. It's certainly not something I would advise. Pikes in a rush is definitely a more specialised tactic, and I think Paladinbob pulled it off really well here. But he was, I think, quite fortunate that that both players were so split up that they really couldn't support each other, and also the Byzantines didn't really utilise their infantry to best effect. They should have just held the pikes at the front and then surrounded them, and they could have done some really nice damage as a result. It looks like we're just going to get another little fight here. These pikemen are engaging these Milanese feudal knights. And unfortunately, this is what happens when infantry kind of moves into to enemy heavy infantry. They kind of move too far into the formation, and then they drop their pikes and become all messed up. As you can see, these guys are sort of going in this direction. They don't really know what to do with themselves, and the feudal knights have just cut straight into this formation. This reminds me, I've been thinking about testing the different depths of formation for pikes, because I know a lot of people think that having them long, stretched out is always the best way to use them, but I actually think the best use of pikemen is in deep, blocky formations, and then just using them just to push straight through an enemy formation. I'll have to test that at some point, but from what I've seen in other videos, certainly having them 3 to 4 ranks deep in double pike formations is definitely the ideal way to use them, or having a sword infantry in front and having the pikemen at the back still in a 3 rank deep formation. So yeah, this is the end results, and as you can see, Paladinbob getting quite a lot of kills with the whole pike formation. See how many kills his pikes got. So the Flemish pikeman, one with his general in, that was brave, I think, to say the least. Getting not too bad kills. These Swiss pikemen were absolutely grinding the enemy. There's 74 kills, 93, 62, just unbelievable. French mounted archers doing their job of just keeping the enemy cav at bay and just getting rid of the enemy archers. And then standard pikemen, I'm not too keen on standard pikemen. They don't have the defences or the attack to really be of any use, but they are cheap, and I guess that's something. Generally speaking, all pikes are cheap. Even the Swiss pikemen are about 540, I think, 530. So somewhere along those lines. They're certainly cheaper than some of the even some of the better heavy infantry, sort of your feudal knights. And the Swiss pikemen are the best pikemen in the game. There's no real competition for the best pikemen, unless, you see, I've not tried the Scottish pikemen all that much, the heavy sort of noble pikemen, but the thing that makes the Swiss pikemen superior is just that attack value, that 15 attack. Comparing that to a lot of other pikemen, you've got the Scottish noble pikemen, which are, I think they have an attack of 11 and a defense of 10, or something along those lines, and then you've got the Lancashire pikemen, which have a defense of I think 3 and attack of 13 or something. So there is no competition when it comes to pikemen. The Swiss pikemen are superior when it comes to attack. And then just looking at these Volger, they didn't perform as well as I think Paladinbob really wanted them to. I've had discussions with him, and he's been looking for a cheap alternative to infantry, because having sort of dismounted feudal knights or having dismounted chivalric knights in such a pikey army does feel a bit weird and a bit strange at times. But personally, if you're going to go with the majority of pikemen, you want a nice sturdy infantry to support them, and there's no sturdier infantry than feudal knights. The cost, what they can do, just everything about feudal knights is bog standard and not in a bad way at all. Honestly, they are the most cost-effective infantry in the game, and if you can bring them, especially in a pike army where you're relying on your pikemen to behave themselves, feudal knights will definitely perform well. So yeah, that's basically the statistics. I've seen Paladinbob use a tactic similar to this, but with archers instead, and using spearmen to hold the flanks. Again, a very nice defensive formation. But I've never seen it in an attack, so yeah, very, very interested in this, and I hope everyone takes at least something from it, whether it's how to beat pikes, or whether it's how to use pikes effectively, or whether it's just having fun with pikemen. You know, trying them once or twice, because I think pikemen are one of those units that really don't get enough love online, and when they do, they kind of get used once, and then people say they're crap, and then don't use them again. So yeah, I hope this sort of showcases them in a better light, and hopefully we'll be able to see some more use of pikes in the future. I'm certainly interested in them. The history and the and what they represented was quite good. And in game, I believe they do have the uses. They're not the easiest unit to use, but as you've seen here, if you use them right, they can punch straight through Byzantine heavy infantry like they are nothing, and that's always good to have. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video. Thank you.